My name is Staff Sergeant Ava Monroe. I've spent the last 11 years in the U.S. Army, most of it stationed on bases so remote you'd have to zoom out twice on a map to even find them. While my cousin Courtney live streams brunches with influencers and racks up followers with every new hairstyle, I've been learning to blend into the background and keep high-value assets alive under pressure. Courtney and I grew up in the same town, same street, just two very different houses. Her mom ran a boutique PR firm and believed in manifesting visibility, while my parents taught me that real value doesn't need a spotlight. By the time we were adults, she was making headlines for lifestyle curation, and I was making sure my unit made it back from the Middle East in one piece. To be clear, Courtney isn't famous, not technically, but she's built a whole brand out of acting like she is, and she's very, very good at it. People know her name, follow her stories, and watch her step onto red carpets she barely got invited to. Me? I've walked through war zones, diffused crossfire situations, and flown on military aircraft with no cabin pressurization. But according to our family, she's the one with the exciting life. It used to bother me. I'd show up to Thanksgiving with dirt under my fingernails and no photos to prove where I'd been or what I'd done. She'd arrive in heels, all glow and gloss, talking about champagne events in Soho. Everyone smiled at her stories. No one asked about mine. I stopped trying after a while, but I never resented her. That would have been too easy. Truth is, I always knew we were living different lives for different reasons. She needed to be seen. I needed to be useful. And that quiet purpose, that invisible pride, has carried me through more than she could ever understand. My family has never quite known what to do with me. They nod politely when I mention my deployments, but their eyes light up when Courtney talks about Fashion Week or a viral skincare reel. It's like my world exists in grayscale, and hers is always in Technicolor. To them, I'm the cousin who wears the same boots to every barbecue, the one who never has time to stay long, always coming from or heading back to some base no one remembers the name of. I've seen my uncle visibly wince when I talk about field rations. My aunt once told me, with a gentle smile, that I should really consider doing something more feminine before I turn 40. Courtney doesn't say it that way. Her words are sharper, wrapped in sweetness like barbed wire in lace. At Christmas last year, while I was stacking firewood behind my mom's house, she leaned out the kitchen door holding a glass of wine. "You know, Ava, it's wild how you've stuck with the whole soldier thing. I always thought it was just a phase. Like, don't you want to be soft?" I just kept stacking. What she doesn't see, or maybe refuses to, is that I've built a life around purpose. Real, heavy, demanding purpose. I've trained recruits who went on to lead their own squads. I've stood in the desert in 120-degree heat to guide helicopters down safely. I've carried more than one brother in arms out of harm's way. But when Courtney posts a boomerang of her blowing kisses on a red carpet, she gets hundreds of comments calling her a queen. I send encrypted briefs and get radio silence. She once told a dinner table full of extended family that I probably just like following orders, because it meant I didn't have to think for myself. I smiled, drank my wine, and resisted the urge to mention the time I coordinated a tactical exit from a combat zone under satellite surveillance with zero guidance from command. It's not a contest, but if it were, I doubt she'd last 10 minutes outside cell service. The hardest part isn't her, though. It's the quiet way the rest of the family follows her lead. They ask for selfies with her at reunions, but forget to ask where I'm stationed. They laugh louder at her stories, lean in closer. I get nods, sometimes pats on the back, like I'm the family pet who showed up clean and didn't bark too much. For a long time, I thought I was just bad at sharing, that maybe I wasn't interesting enough, or charming enough, or visible enough. But then I realized my job isn't meant to be flashy. It's designed to be invisible, and the people I protect don't care how many likes I get. They care that I know how to move in the dark and keep threats at bay. So I let Courtney have her spotlight. I've seen enough real danger to know that glitter fades fast. Let her chase cameras. I'll keep chasing the mission. There was a mission in northern Syria that I still think about sometimes when I'm lying awake at night. I serve in the U.S. Army Protective Services Battalion. We are the Secret Service for the Department of Defense. We protect the generals, the diplomats, the people whose lives affect national security. We were tasked with extracting a high-value asset, HVA, a NATO liaison, from a hostile town after intelligence revealed an imminent threat to his life. The orders were clear, time-sensitive, and came with one rule: complete silence. We flew in under moonlight, no lights, no comms, just the hum of rotors and the pulse in my throat. My team moved fast, every step rehearsed, but still unpredictable in the real world. Dust kicked up around us, dogs barked in the distance, and all I could hear was my own breath under the helmet. The asset was right where they said he'd be, but the situation shifted fast. We had to divert through alleyways barely wide enough to pass, with eyes watching us from rooftops. One wrong move and the entire op could collapse, turning a rescue into a bloodbath. I remember crouching behind a crumbling wall, giving hand signals while radio silence held, watching the seconds tick away until our bird returned. I physically shielded the asset with my body as we moved. I was the wall between him and the bullet. We got out with 5 minutes to spare. No casualties, no trace. The debrief took 10 hours. We wrote reports, sealed footage, and signed paperwork that locked the story behind top-level clearance. No media coverage, no commendation ceremony. Just a quiet handshake from my commanding officer and a file that vanished into classified archives. I never told my family. They think Syria was just another routine training assignment. Maybe that's for the best. Some victories aren't meant to be celebrated in public. They just have to exist, carried by the people who were there, who did what had to be done and never said a word about it again. A few weeks after that mission, my CO pulled me aside. He handed me a notification. I had been selected for the Special Threat Detail for the upcoming NATO summit in Washington, D.C. It was the highest honor for a protective agent. It meant I was the best. That night, I sat on my bunk and thought about how proud my dad would have been if he could have seen that paper, about how my mom would have cried, not understanding the details but knowing it mattered. But I couldn't tell them. I folded the letter back into the folder, tucked it in the back of my locker, and went on like nothing had happened. At the next family gathering, Courtney showed off a magazine feature where she'd been named a rising digital star. My aunt called it an honor. I smiled and passed the mashed potatoes. Nobody asked me about my week, and I didn't offer. Because sometimes the most meaningful things we do are the ones no one will ever know about. And that has to be enough. The night before the Capital Fashion benefit, Courtney posted a countdown on her Instagram with glitter effects and a close-up of her custom heels. This wasn't just a party. It was the party. A black-tie gala hosted in one of D.C.'s most exclusive hotels, attended by politicians, foreign dignitaries, and Hollywood elite. Courtney told everyone at Sunday dinner that she'd been hand-picked to attend. According to her, only 50 people in the country had access, and of course, she was one of them. She held up her invitation like it was made of gold. "No plus ones," she added, giving me a quick, pitying glance. "The security is really strict." I heard even senators have trouble getting in. It's going to be intense. Probably not your scene, Ava." My uncle clapped. My aunt beamed. "Our little celebrity," my mom said, ignoring me completely. I just nodded while quietly finishing my coffee. What Courtney didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that I had been inside that hotel for the last 48 hours. I wasn't a guest. I was the site lead. I had mapped out the exit routes. I had supervised the bomb sweeps. I had placed the snipers. I had run the background checks on every single name on the guest list, including hers. The reason the security would be tight was that I was leading the detail protecting General Kalin, the supreme Allied commander of NATO, who was the keynote speaker. He had specific, credible threats against his life. My name wasn't on any public roster. It never would be. I was the ghost in the machine. The day of the event, Courtney posted every hour: outfit fitting, makeup artist arrival, and her car pulling up to the venue. She captioned one photo: "Power players only tonight. Sorry to those who didn't make the cut." I was already in the building by then. I wasn't wearing a gown. I was wearing a tailored black suit, a tactical earpiece, and a concealed Sig Sauer P320. My badge was tucked beneath my jacket. I stood in the command center, watching the monitors. I saw Courtney arrive on camera 4. She was posing for the paparazzi outside, soaking it in. The irony wasn't lost on me. We were in the same building, same event, but in completely different worlds. Hers was built on being seen. Mine was built on seeing everything. And tonight, those worlds were about to collide. The gala was in full swing. The ballroom was a sea of tuxedos and designer gowns. Waiters moved like ghosts with trays of champagne. I was positioned at Checkpoint Alpha, the entrance to the ultra-exclusive VIP lounge, where the general and the high-level diplomats were holding a private reception before the speech. This was the inner circle. Even the regular VIPs couldn't get in here. 2 uniformed military police officers stood guard at the velvet rope. I stood a few feet back in the shadows, scanning the crowd, listening to the chatter on my earpiece. "Lead, this is Bravo. The package is secure in the green room, moving to Alpha in 5 mics." "Copy, Bravo," I whispered into my wrist mic. "Alpha is clear." That's when I saw her. Courtney was making her way through the crowd, holding a glass of champagne, followed by a photographer she had evidently hired for the night. She looked confident. She looked like she owned the place. She spotted the velvet rope. She spotted the guards. And she spotted the sign that said, "Diplomatic access only." To Courtney, a sign like that wasn't a rule. It was a challenge. It was content. She walked right up to the rope. "Hi," she said to the MP, flashing her brightest smile. "I'm Courtney Monroe. I'm on the list." The MP, a corporal who took his job very seriously, checked his tablet. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't see your name for the diplomatic reception." Courtney laughed. A light, tinkling sound that usually got her what she wanted. "Check again. I'm an influencer partner for the event. I'm supposed to get photos with the general." "Negative, ma'am. This area is restricted. Cleared personnel only." Courtney's smile tightened. "Look, do you know who I am? I have 500,000 followers waiting to see what's behind this rope. It's good press for you guys. Just let me slip in for 5 minutes." She tried to unhook the rope herself. The MP stepped in front of her, blocking her path. "Ma'am, do not touch the barrier. Step back." Courtney's face flushed. She wasn't used to being told no. "Excuse me. Don't touch me. I'm going in there. I know people." She started to raise her voice. People were turning to look. This was a disturbance, a security risk. I sighed. I adjusted my earpiece. I stepped out of the shadows. "Is there a problem here, Corporal?" My voice was calm, professional, and authoritative. Courtney spun around, ready to yell at whoever had interrupted her. When she saw me, her mouth fell open. "Ava?" She blinked, looking me up and down. She saw the severe black suit, the earpiece. The way I stood, not like a cousin, but like a statue. "What are you doing here?" she blurted out, laughing in disbelief. Did you get a job in catering? Or security?" She turned to the MP, pointing at me. "It's okay, she's my cousin. She's nobody. Ava, tell him to let me in. Can you grab me a drink while you're at it?" The disrespect was casual, instinctive. She assumed that because I was there, I must be serving her. The MP looked at me, waiting for orders. I didn't smile. I didn't acknowledge the cousin comment. "This individual is causing a disturbance at a critical checkpoint," I said to the corporal, my voice flat. "She is attempting to breach a secure perimeter." Courtney froze. "Excuse me? Breach? Ava, stop acting weird. Just let me in. I need a selfie with the general." I turned to face her fully. I stepped into her personal space. "Ms. Monroe," I said, "you are not on the access list. You have been given a lawful order to step back." "Ms. Monroe?" she scoffed. "Ava, cut the crap. You're embarrassing me. I'm going in." She reached for the rope again. I moved. In one smooth motion, I intercepted her hand. I didn't hurt her, but I used a wrist lock that immobilized her instantly. I stepped in, controlling her center of gravity, and spun her away from the checkpoint. "Ow! Ava!" she screamed. The photographer started snapping pictures. I held up a hand to the photographer. "Federal agent, put the camera down or I will confiscate it as evidence." The photographer lowered the camera instantly, terrified. Courtney pulled her arm free, rubbing her wrist. She was furious now, red-faced. "Are you insane?" she hissed. "I'm getting you fired. I know the organizers. You're just a jealous little." "I am the agent in charge of this detail," I cut her off. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of the entire Department of Defense. I reached into my jacket and flipped open my badge. The gold shield of the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command, Protective Services. "I determine who enters this room," I said. "And you are a security risk." Courtney stared at the badge. She stared at me. "Agent?" she whispered. "But you're in the Army. You drive trucks." "I protect high-value targets from threats," I said. "And right now, you are the threat." I tapped my earpiece. "Control, this is Lead. We have a Code 3 disturbance at Alpha, requesting removal of a guest." "Copy Lead," the voice in my ear said. "Teams inbound." Courtney's eyes went wide. "Removal? Ava, no, don't." "You wanted to be seen, Courtney," I said coldly. "Now you're going to be seen." Two large men in suits appeared from the crowd. Hotel security, backed by my team. "Remove this guest from the premises," I ordered. "Revoke her credentials. She is barred from re-entry." "Ava, please," Courtney begged, grabbing my sleeve. "This is the event of the year. You can't kick me out. I'm family." I gently removed her hand from my suit. "Here, I'm not family," I said. "I'm the wall." I nodded to the security team. "Escort her out." They grabbed Courtney by the arms. She wasn't fighting physically, but she was crying, pleading, looking around to see who was watching. Everyone was watching. The influencers, the politicians, the people she tried so hard to impress. They were all watching her get thrown out by security. And they were watching me. I stood at the checkpoint, adjusting my cuffs. I didn't look angry. I didn't look triumphant. I looked like a professional doing a job. As they dragged her away, Courtney looked back at me one last time. The arrogance was gone. The poor Ava narrative was dead. She saw me. Finally, she saw the earpiece. The gun print is under the jacket, the way the other guards deferred to me. She realized she had been looking down on the person who held all the power. The rest of the night was flawless. General Kalin gave his speech. The diplomats mingled. No threats emerged. I stood my post. Invisible to most, but the most important person in the room to the few who knew. At 0200 hours, the event ended. We moved the general to the motorcade. As I walked out the service exit into the cool night air, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. Courtney called. She's hysterical. She says you got her thrown out of the gala. She says you're a federal agent? Ava, what is going on? I stared at the screen. I could hear my mother's voice, confused, maybe a little scared. The box she had put me in for 10 years had just exploded. I didn't reply. I walked to the lead SUV. The driver opened the door for me. "Good work tonight, Sergeant," he said. "Thanks, Mike. Let's get the package home." I climbed in. I didn't need to explain myself to my mother. I didn't need to explain myself to Courtney. The silence wasn't a shield anymore. It was a throne. Courtney had chased the spotlight her whole life. She finally got it. She just didn't like what it revealed. As the motorcade pulled away, lights flashing, cutting through the DC traffic, I leaned back and closed my eyes. I wasn't the quiet cousin. I wasn't the failure. I was the one who decided who got in. And tonight, access was denied.